Hello, and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name is Sean Bell. I'm joined by James Farley.
Hello.
And Matt Murray.
Hello.
James, you seemed like surprised by that then.
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting to be first. Because
there's a 50% chance.
I was going to say,
James.
it's a coin toss. Dave's not here. He's poorly. And those who are watching the Twitch stream just heard his voice. And yeah, he is not here with very good reason. I'm also feeling a little bit rough. But I'm just more committed, I suppose.
A hard man.
Yeah, although maybe in 2 hours' time, maybe you'll think that I probably should have just gone to bed. Sean, who knows? We are going to start the show as we always do by thanking our Patreon producers for this month. They are Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks chap, Simon Nelson, Jack Oven, Moomin Biscuit, Trans Rights are Human Rights, Dave Ernsberger, Colin Brown, Gasman, Rocketman76, Grey Dragon Claw, Smooth Monkey, Don Whiskerando, Colin Smith, Richard Sawyer, John Tempelli, Jackie Sniper, Gordon Garrow, brackets Safe As Records, Sam Higton, Freelance Police, and Steve Garrett, the Slow Kindle bloke. Thank you so much. They all went to patreon.com/TCGS, and no one's told them about the cost of living crisis because they all went full Nels, and I love them for it. You can also support us on Patreon if you like, because you get extra stuff for doing it. You get bonus podcasts. We're doing some video stuff
this week.
It is happening this week. We binned it last week because Dave wasn't feeling well. And James is cooking up something for the video show that I'm actually quite excited about. Yeah. We may yet back a obviously doomed hardware Kickstarter project.
I can't wait.
It might not be doomed.
Well,
I mean, sure, we may be investing in one of those consoles that will play literally any game ever.
It's completely real and will exist one day. I mean, it'll be a funny thing to like check in on in sort of subsequent bonus shows and stuff, right?
Yeah,
like every 6 months. We've had an update. It's they're looking for more investment. Okay, that's
update. They've gone to Fig.
Yeah,
awesome. I'm expecting there won't be any updates.
I made a vow to not back any more gaming Kickstarters after I backed Republic. Which is like the Ryan Payton game after he left Konami or wherever it was. And that game was released, and I still hadn't got my code for the game, and I was annoyed. And I was like, you know what?
You just need to ask them. Surely,
it's just that it was already out. Like, why would we get the keys a little bit earlier than general release, or at least at the same time? After that, I was like, forget it.
Fair enough. I mean,
that's going to change. That's going to change when we play For Your Consideration,
which I've done some very high quality artwork for.
I know. Yes, you have.
I was very forward to the world seeing that. Right. Feedback, Matt. What did everyone make of last week's show, please?
Well, David, probably not that David, said, I think I slipped into a coma during the Destiny 2 chat last week.
Okay.
I did wonder, actually, if that was David had written that.
I think he would just tell us, right? Dave's not one to shy away from confrontation.
That's true.
No. So I can't imagine him using this method to berate us.
That would be mad. That'd be wild if he's like, actually, I can't find a way, an avenue.
I don't want to confront the boys on this one. It's too much. I'm gonna do it through a clever alias.
Or maybe just messing with their heads. It's just...
They'll never get it.
I mean, David, whoever you are, bad news, because we're going to talk about it again this week. Probably not for as long. I mean, we do try very hard not to drag out the Destiny stuff, because we know what it's like if you're not interested. Really boring. But hey-ho. All right, what else?
But, it is a big release. We talked about it for a little bit, and we'll talk about it a little bit more this week, and, up yours. Roger.
That's another way of dealing with it, but yeah, go ahead.
Different, good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Roger Stewart's, dear TCGS gang, I know Stuart Rogers, and he's a bastard.
Well, there you have it. I mean,
conclusive proof.
So the Stewart's argument is now transferring into people with the surname Stewart, who are against the first name Stewarts. So we've got multiple factions here. We've got all the Stewarts having a go at each other, and then the surname Stewarts having a go at one of the first name Stewarts. It's getting very complicated. We might need a wiki. Might need a wiki.
Yeah, I was going right. For years we've said, could there be a wiki? People have asked, could there be a wiki? And there hasn't been about the show, even though there's lots of things happening. But this is the kind of thing that suddenly there will be a wiki not about the show, just about the battle between Stuarts.
the war of the Stuarts. I mean, is it Backpage Pod that have a wiki? They do, don't they?
I mean, they must do at this point.
I mean, did they make that themselves? Because if they did, and that's not perceived as arrogant, maybe we do just make the TCGS one. Because that's always been my worry. I've just sort of like I feel like it's weird if we make our own wiki, but if someone else was to do it, that would be fine. But no one else has, so fans just aren't that committed. That's fine if they're not into it. But it's not for them. It's for us. So
there's a lot of upkeep as well. A lot of citation.
That's the problem, isn't it? Although it would be quite useful because then when David always does that nonsense where he's just like, "Oh, you said X, Y, Z on this date or whatever," we can go, "Oh, did I?" And then you can just like look it up and find out.
Yeah, but it won't like exhaustively document everything we've said. It's not like a full transcript of all the episodes.
Sean, I want something which is basically Hansard, but for the computer game show. And that's what I want.
It's giving me having to update it, isn't it, James? That's the trouble. That is the trouble there. Norman Jaden, Sean, my comment last week on James's streams not being forced was not a dig at yourself, but more at the majority of streamers out there that I've seen. Although I'm not the best person to ask if this is typical, I'm sure there are many great streamers out there. I love your streams too, and would be delighted to see you stream some modern VR tech one day.
Now, is that a dig?
I mean, I'm a massive to dig, isn't it? The vintage VR tech right now you're on.
Unbelievable.
He also says, I did send this prior to Matt and James's PSVR 2 stream and was delighted when it was announced and really enjoyed it. Just in case the other two are feeling left out, I also love all of Matt's and Dave's streams. Yeah, all of my streams over the last year.
Sorry, Norman. I wasn't doing that internet thing of like, oh, well, he hasn't said this, therefore he means this. You know when people on the internet just assume you mean something by omission rather than, and it's like, no, obviously, I know, it's fine. I know you weren't having to go. It's fine.
Also, Norman came back several days later saying Sean's VR stream of Blade and Sorcery was well and truly a thing of beauty.
Yeah, I mean that was a weird stream because the idea was I was going to stream that Area Man Lives, which is like this weird game where you're a DJ, but there's like a radio play sort of happening. But you're just stuck in this booth, right? And it sounded really interesting. And I got about 10 minutes in and I absolutely despised it. So just streamed a load of Blade and Sorcery and revealed that I'm a horrible person. But we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, but that looks brilliant, doesn't it?
It's really good.
I saw that, Sean, and immediately was like, "Is this coming out on PSVR 2?"
I believe it is. It's because it's still it's still technically early access. But then that's the thing on PlayStation, right? Or is it?
I don't know if it is
actually.
No,
it's not, is it? It's only Xbox that. Yeah. Or maybe that's why it hasn't appeared on.
I think they announced one title was going to be there early, but it was never with like a big bang. Like we're doing early access now.
Right.
Like in recent months, we're like, oh, hell, so they are doing early access, but I don't know what title that was. But no, it's not really as common as it is on Xbox and PC, obviously.
Yeah. No, interesting. But yeah, thank you, Norman. I didn't think you were having a go at me, but thank you.
Thanks. Major PDD. Guess what this one's going to be about?
Uh-oh.
I'm not really one to be a stickler about things. #TCGSCon. But we seem to take time entering a Farley's fantasy zone, yet somehow magically exit it. Just leaving it basically with no warning. I then have to spend 20 minutes on a come down after being so high. Can we have a warning next time, please? And as I've said before, I can't walk the dog without listening to your pod. You guys do everything perfectly. The format's definitely not dead. Love the show and love you guys. Major PDD, sitting on the loo with all the best thinking is done.
I mean, we need to say, Major PDD, really appreciate the enthusiasm. We have nothing to say about TCGSCon yet. I'm not saying it's not happening. It's just life's been a nightmare. When there is something to tell, we will.
Yeah, all we can say is we're nothing to announce right now.
Yeah.
Keep it peeled. Keep them peeled.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the point about Farley's Fantasy Zone, I feel like we've had this discussion before, haven't we? That there's no, it's like that bit in Inception where you're not actually sure if he left the dream, and therefore maybe the rest of the. I mean, that's Farley's Fantasy Zone.
It wouldn't be the same, would it, if I did something where it was like, the fantasy is over or something like that.
That sounds amazing now that you've said that. So you're going to have to do that. next time we go, I'm afraid. No, I thought about what if we played the music backwards to get us out, but then probably like summon evil spirits or something. So
Yeah.
not worth the risk.
No.
And I like the fact there is no card end. And you're like, man, are we still, is this make believe? I like that. Virtua Boy, hey guys, listener from Indiana here. Size 10 shoe boxer briefs, thank you. I wanted to say thanks for making me aware of the Double Fine documentary. Holy cow, there are some human moments in there. I'm only 2 episodes in and I'm hooked. It's so captivating to see the contrast between the first 2 episodes, where they're young and vibrant, working late, drinking Coke and eating pizza and having a fun and terrible time making games. Then in episode 2, they're all jaded by the meat grind of adulthood and parenthood. In a way, it was comforting to this father of 3 who is coming to grips with the way passions and priorities change as life circumstances change. What a unique look at life through the lens of video game development. Anyway, thanks again and carry on.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm 20. I think I'm on episode 25 now of the doc. Have you guys started it yet?
No, I haven't.
No, but I saw this and was like, yeah, I really do need to watch this. So,
it is absolutely fascinating. Because did we all finish Psychonauts 2?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, sort that out. But I'm probably going to play it again. It's
great. It was on my Game of the Year list for that year. It was great.
Really fucking good. The documentary is amazing. Just because it's like when they did the Broken Age one, that was more like, this is what game development's like, and also here's some of the opportunities and pitfalls of like funding stuff via Kickstarter. Whereas this is so much more like, it's about the people specifically, who comes and who goes and why, and their sort of relationships and what that means for like how the companies run in general, and how it's different to other studios as well. It's absolutely fascinating. I'm really enjoying it. I'm getting a bit.
I really want to watch it. I mean, are you watching it with New or just on your own site?
Just on my own. I watched the Broken Age one with her, but then when I saw this one was like 35 episodes or whatever, I was like, that's not gonna happen unless it take about 6 months.
But is enough of a kind of human story that even Jill, who is not into games at all, would get something out of it, or is it really
100%.
kind of...
I think anyone who's like ever had to work in a team and like understand or navigate like team dynamics as well. Like it's just fascinating. It's really good. And so like everything that's like sort of specific game terms, there's just like a little explanation at the bottom, like E3 gets mentioned. That's the weirdest thing. Is that obviously there's been more news about who's not at E3. But I've reached the episode where they did E3 2019, and it is like just seeing it. It's like, man, I can totally see why people really miss this, and do sort of want it to come back. But
the episodes, are they an hour long? The episodes?
No, they vary loads. Some of them are literally like 30 minutes. I think they're basically anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. It depends. But every episode is about like a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because obviously there's like quite a time skip with some of the episodes as well. Like sometimes you'll be watching it and then the next episode you're like, oh shit, this is like 6 months later now. It's very strange, but
if I tell them they're an hour long each and there's 35 of them, and I think that might be game over.
I mean, like I think I said the other week, like I've had to I'm like watching it on the toilet and stuff because it's the only way I'm going to get through it. Like there's not enough time to sit down and watch it like it's an actual telly show. Do you know what I mean? Although it totally could be. Like if this was on Netflix, no one would bat an eyelid. It's like it's so well produced. But it's good.
Well, that is it for feedback. Go to tcgs.co/dear tcgs. Leave your feedback, or ask us a question, or just do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
James, start spreading the news, mate.
Hello and good evening. Here's the first bit of news. Bong.
You remembered right at the last second.
Yeah, I remember it was at the last second. So Starfield has been delayed until September. But there's going to be... It's September the 6th. That's when it's coming out. But then also they're going to do a event on the June the 11th, which is like a Starfield Direct. But it seems that that's going to be directly after their Xbox Game Showcase that they're also doing on the 11th of June. So that's how that's working.
Because it's getting a dig in there. Like most people are like, the news is, we've got a date for Starfield, isn't that good? But you're like, no, delayed, bang. Oh yeah, also it's coming in September.
Because I got completely confused. So
good, right?
did we have a date for this previously?
No, it's just first half of the year.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
But I mean, originally it was set for November the 11th, 2022. So it's like it's been about nearly a year delay on that. But then that's fine. That's hopefully it's going to be good. This is one of my big hopes for this year, that this is going to be great, because
100%.
I'm kind of hoping it's going to be. But so yeah, it's going to be after. There's going to be this direct, which will be after the Xbox game showcase, of which there is very little information at the moment. So they asked Xbox boss Phil Spencer if there was going to be any big reveals prior to this, to the summer showcase. And then he said, so a lot of our focus right now is on the showcase in June, but there's some news that's coming out. We did the GoldenEye announcement. I'm thinking GoldenEye type announces. So I think that's exactly what it says here. So I think what he means is that there will be some maybe some shadow drops or whatever up to June. Yeah, there's going to be some games that are just going to just drop. Yeah, that people are not going to be expecting. What it means
is, so the game's out on our console, but it doesn't have the most crucial part of the game. That's actually on Switch.
And you have to remap your console on the Switch to be able to actually play it. What a disaster!
Okay.
Yeah, so that's good, I guess. I'm glad that's coming out. I mean, but also we found out, didn't we, this week, that Xbox are not going to be on the E3 show floor either. They're not going to be there.
Although they weren't there in 2019 either. They were at their Microsoft Theatre just over the road. So it's just obviously all the headlines are they're not there. No one's there, but they weren't even there previously. So I don't know.
Yeah, they weren't there previously, and they still are doing a thing around E3.
Yeah,
which is it's weird, isn't it? So it's not like a total middle finger to E3.
Well, I mean, they're doing a thing around E3. We don't know if they're actually have a physical presence even over the road. It's still
true.
Although the headlines are they won't be there, but they weren't there. We don't actually know the extent to how much they are or aren't there.
Yeah.
Well, it may just end up being like one of those showcases like they did the other day. which is basically just like a pre-record. Of all the stuff that's coming out or whatever, and that's it. And then do you think we're going to get something similar from Nintendo around this time or not? Or are they not going to bother this year?
I don't know, because they sort of need to, right? Because obviously by sort of July, Tears of the Kingdom will have been out a couple of months. So there's going to be people being like, right, now what else this year, Nintendo, please? Can we have one more game, please?
Please, can you show us what Pokemon game you're releasing this Christmas? That's what it's going to be.
Pokemon game is coming out.
Well, have you? This isn't in the news. I'm sorry to insert this, James. You've seen the NFT stuff.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. So.
It's frustrating because obviously with something like Pokemon, I'm like, oh yeah, that does make an amount of sense because that's a series where you've transferred your Pokemon from game to you can there's been ways to transfer your Pokemon from game to game to game, but it's always been a bit of a pain in the arse. So toxicity aside, I can see why on paper that might seem like a workable or useful thing.
Yeah, so the news was that they're looking into getting a NFT expert, or was that the news? Yeah, the Pokemon company looking into that.
Which is, not conclusive. It's not like, they're definitely doing NFTs or by any means, but it's.
I hope they go full on crypto, and then they're just they got poker coins or something like that. Is going to be the
Pikachu
the thing.
Costs £200. Fuck you. Yeah.
But on the Starfield thing, we got a new trailer. I'm very excited for it. Again, I've not really got into a Bethesda game, really, especially not these kinds of games. I played a bit of Skyrim, really enjoyed it, but went on to Battlefield 3 or whatever at the time. But I'm really excited for this. I really hope it's good. Yes, it's delayed from June to September. I just want to know there is going to be at least one game to play on my Xbox this year. That's first party.
The thing is I'd be happy if this was as good as Outer Worlds or something was, because that was fine. That Obsidian game, I enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun with that game.
I was quite excited about the there's that was it Spacer's Choice edition of Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
And that was did you say Worlds or Wilds? Have I just
Worlds.
No,
You
you
did
said
say Worlds, fine.
Yeah.
I was just oh god, I fucked up. Apparently that new version they've put out is absolutely dog shit. It's completely fucked. It performs worse than the original did, and it's a nightmare.
Because the Switch version came out and it was a mess from what I've heard. Like it was like it didn't work very well.
That coming really, didn't we?
But the Xbox One was great. I had a good time with that. It was I mean in terms of like not being bug ridden, it certainly wasn't. And whereas Starfield maybe will be, but we'll see. Going on previous experiences.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm looking forward to it.
I just hope narratively it's a bit more rich than. I mean, I know some people get well into the Elder Scrolls stuff. I always find it pretty boilerplate. Oh no, there's summoning demons. Go and stop them.
I mean, the only thing that worries me about Starfield is this whole thing of like we've got like 1 million planets or whatever and all that.
More than 1,000 planets.
Yeah,
we want like 5 good ones.
Yep. Really. Yeah, we've already seen how that plays out, haven't we? And that's not me being like, No Man's Sky shit, because it's not. It's just that the billion planets is not the interesting thing about it. Hey-ho.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the direct to learn more. I don't really need to see more, but it'll be good to see what they've got. I mean, like one of the big things I showed previously was like you can design your own ships. I'm probably not going to do that.
Mate, that's going to be my favourite bit.
I might do it once, and then I'm like, next one's just export, just like whatever, just randomize it. I'll be happy with that. So
but then I also like, they talked about the like the ability to just like disable other ships and then board them and capture them and stuff. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I want to be a pirate. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm never that guy who does like evil playthroughs of RPGs. Or on this instance, this might be the one.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
You want to disable someone's ship, get over there, rob it, then just leave bombs on it, leave,
pretty much scuttle it, off and go, or add it to my fleet. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, it would also be cool if there were like morally legitimate reasons to be a pirate as well, because I think that's something you see in like a lot more sci-fi these days. But
we'll make it much more interesting to make it kind of shades of grey than just like good or bad, surely.
Yeah, because I was rolling. You remember they showed that trailer? I was rolling my eyes because it was like you were just running into a facility and there was just like level 2 pirate, and it's like, well, shoot him then because he's a baddie, isn't he? I was like, come on. But maybe hopefully that was just completely out of context and what have you. But we'll see.
One thing I will say, it's just kind of weird having this on the same date as the main Xbox show. Like, why not have us like a week ahead to get?
Well, no, because they're probably mention it in this. Then they'll be like, and then we've got a deep dive after the show into this. I mean, Nintendo have done that all the time, like with the Treehouse kind of thing, isn't it? It's like we're now going to show off, like this in more depth. Which I like that approach because then it's like if it's something you're interested in, you get more, but you can also just ignore it if you don't care, which is nice. Anyway,
they're one of their big titles of the year just to be in a separate show. I'm not sure if that feels good or bad.
It is
like,
strange.
yes, as you say, James, if like you're not interested, that's cool, but
but yeah, surely their attitude should be, you are fucking interested.
Exactly, yeah, like
Starfield, mate. Watch this, you prick.
It's like big title of the year, surely.
No, but it's like having to watch Smash Brothers, isn't it? It's like I'd rather they did just spin that off into like a 25-minute.
Yeah, because for all we know, in the main showcase, there could be like a 2 to 3 minute bit about Starfield, and then if you thought this was cool, which we think you probably did, we've got an hour on it in a minute, but we know probably realistically not everyone has 2 hours to sit through the whole thing. You know what I mean?
So, I haven't got stamina for this.
No.
Okay, next story. Rocksteady's Suicide Squad. What am I saying? Rocksteady's Suicide Squad. I nearly said Squid. Rocksteady's Suicide Squad. Kill the Justice League delayed again. Bong.
What is bonging in the middle of a headline?
Oh yeah, no, I'm supposed to do the bong first, aren't I?
It's either way. It's funny.
Okay. So anyway, so Warner Brothers have moved the release from May this year to sometime later in the year, and Jason Schreier has said that this is apparently mainly for polish, rather than any sort of overhaul of the core gameplay.
Yeah, because it's not long enough for an overhaul, is it?
Exactly, yeah. They're not going to have time to overhaul anything.
Yeah, so this isn't a response to what everyone thinks.
Not very happy.
Yeah.
But also the other point they made here is that they're moving it out of the same like window as Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo 4, all those things, because they're obviously going to be huge. So why send it out?
16's out around that kind of
that's right.
Well, isn't it? So get out of the way of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I hate saying this, but are any of us bothered?
Nope.
No. Okay. Cool.
No, we
watched
the kind of battle pass, and I know I'm saying this as someone who's got into Destiny recently, but all the battle pass stuff, all the games of service stuff, like it doesn't interest me in this particular franchise. But
I think that's just it, isn't it? Like with Destiny, you know what the deal is. It is built around that stuff, whereas this perhaps unfairly looks like they designed like a cool, small scale multiplayer game, and then someone said, "No, we want to make much more money out of this. Actually, can you put the bad stuff in?"
So they did an Avengers to it. They did an Avengers to it. Is the thing.
100%. Which is incredible because we all know how the Avengers game
went. No, but
went.
that's what's really interesting, because at the moment this is where this is starting to happen. Okay, this is complete nonsense, but to me it feels like this is starting to happen more frequently now, where it's like these games are coming out that are games as the service games, because obviously they started development when there was a big like push for all of those, and then now it's like nobody wants those anymore.
Well, this is it, because this is the curse of AAA development, right? Is if you are if you're making a new AAA game and you're looking at another existing AAA game and going, that's really cool, we should copy that. It's like, well, in 5 years' time, that might not be the thing anymore.
Yeah.
And people might, in fact, actively resent it now.
Mm-hmm. That's why Sony's plans to do, 10 live service games over the next few years? That's...
they are planning for surely most of those to fail.
Yeah.
What I find so interesting about this is that it's, Rocksteady obviously made, the Arkham games, which everyone loved. Everyone loves that studio. This looks like a good IP. I mean, Suicide Squad had quite a weird time in terms of the movies. I'm not sure too much about the history of the comics, but it feels like these two together, given what Rocksteady done with Batman, amazing. How can this not be great? But then you read any of the comments and it's so toxic. Everyone's like, this looks dreadful. I don't want this live service stuff. Even the studio with the pedigree of Rocksteady, who you will be able to trust will make a great game. Even that is still not enough to make people think, oh, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. People are like, no way, I don't want anything to do with this.
It's weird, because the amount of people who've been saying, oh, this completely throws out everything that was good about the Arkham games. I mean, I thought that was obvious just from the premise of it. It was never going to be like a brooding Metroidvania
detective.
Type. Yeah, it was obviously going to be more action focused. Like granted, it's very difficult to look at the footage of the game and be like, oh yeah, that's the same world as the one I saw in the Arkham games. Doesn't feel like it at all. But I don't know. I was surprised that people were precious about that. I thought it was always pretty self-evident. It was never going to be like the Arkham games. But I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, next story. Bong. Switch successor faces backwards compatibility challenges, a developer suggests. So this is Modern Vintage Gamer, which is a YouTube channel. They made some comments on the chipset that the Switch successor might use. And so this is Video Game Chronicle reported on this. They said, so Modern Vintage Gamer said this. They said, if Nintendo is to move away from the Tegra X1, which we all feel strongly that they probably will do, current Switch games won't work on new hardware. That is, without recompiling the games to target that hardware. But then they offer some possible solutions, for how they could fix this. The first solution, obviously, is emulation. So you'll get the series consoles, where how they basically emulate, what's gone before. Yeah. But how this would be tough, obviously, on whatever the new hardware is, it'd be quite difficult. And I mean, they made the point that even the Steam Deck finds it hard to emulate some Switch games, that are particularly intensive. It's not great for it. But then the next solution was that Nvidia and Nintendo provide chip compatibility for Tegra 1 on the chip. So they add that as an extra function. Or the other one is that a Tegra X1 chip could also just be included in the Switch successor, which is in the same way that the GameCube, the Wii did with the GameCube. How it had the chipset there so that it could also play GameCube games as well. But then obviously that costs more money.
Yeah.
That's something else that could be an issue. But then also they said the other problem with this is that this would obviously increase the price, but then also like physical games would still need the Switch cartridge slot to be the same as the original one. You'd have to use the same carts as well. But I don't think that'd be a problem. I don't think anyone really cares about that.
I didn't see them necessarily needing to move, or change the cartridge size. I mean, as long as that can still, or maybe handle high capacity cartridges, I think it'll be fine.
See, I mean, this is one of those things where, I mean, I look at this and I just think, as somebody who owns a Switch, has quite a lot of games from everything, I really hope it's going to be backwards compatible, and I'd be really disappointed if it isn't. But I also kind of wouldn't be surprised if it's not, because this is Nintendo.
It's Nintendo, yeah.
Yeah. And this could be the thing that they do to mess things up slightly. Could be something like this.
That's true, yeah, because there's going to be something. This might as well be this.
It's on-off, isn't it? So this is Switch was a success. Therefore, the next one, if we're going by the history, it will not be a success. So this is the thing that's going to screw it up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Not always. I mean, there have been some successful transitions between generations to Nintendo. Like NES to Super NES was pretty good.
Anything since then?
Shit, mate.
The handhelds have all been good.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the original GBA.
Okay, yeah, but there wasn't really any alternative, was there?
Well, no, everyone shits on the original GBA, me included. Yeah. But I fucking bought one and loved it because didn't know any better.
And then bought GBA.
You should have bought a Wonder Swan, Sean.
I should have, to be fair. Yeah, silly me. Yeah, we've said before, haven't we? They're not going to be able to pull the same thing of because no one had a Wii U. So, of course, they could get away with re-releasing loads of stuff on Switch with maybe marginal improvements, but even straight ports, because who cared? Only 10 people had it on the Wii U. But you're not going to be able to do that with the Switch 2.
I think they could.
Do you reckon? I think they'd get away with it, but I think people would hate them for it.
People will buy it regardless. They might be unhappy. They'll still be buying it. Like, if they say, hey, we got not Mario Kart 9, but Mario Kart, Super Ultimate, whatever it is. It's got everything you played in the previous version with a few more tracks, and we've done up the graphics. Yeah, of course people will buy that. I don't care how many Switches they sold, how many copies of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe they sold. If there's a new one for the Switch 2, people will buy it.
You see, one of the things that makes me think that they will do the backwards compatibility or something like this with this is because there was a big focus not so long ago where they talked about how they wanted to focus on accounts and on people having like Nintendo accounts and like games tied to their accounts and stuff like that. If you're going to make it so that you can't play any of those games you bought and everything on new hardware, that kind of makes that redundant as a concept. Like, what's the point, of like doing that? It's I don't know. I really hope that they do somehow, because I'll be very disappointed if they don't. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
The thing with Nintendo is I always just err on the side of they probably not going to do the thing you expect them or you expect others to do. So,
I mean, generally, with Nintendo, you just expect the worst, I think it is. Or no, you expect the worst, but then also you expect that the worst will also have lots of caveats as well to make it even worse.
What they're going to do is there'll be like the Switch 2 announcement, and the games you know and love on Switch 2. I'm like, how? What does that mean? What do you mean the games we own? Or they're going to re-release the games we love?
It means you've got to re-buy them.
It's for 60 quid a pop.
Yeah. And then the blog posts come out like, oh no, it turns out.
Oh no, you know what they're going to do? They'll do what they did like with the Wii U, where there'll be an upgrade fee for the games. They'll do something like that where it's like you can get it, but it's like, oh no, you have to pay. You got to pay. You got to pay us like £5 per game or something like that to upgrade it.
It would go up because of inflation as well. It'll be a tenner.
Yeah, for a game that you spent £1.50 for on the eShop.
It will be. I think it will be a tenner just because that's what Sony's upgrade cost is, and Nintendo, also tenner for us. Probably. Even for the toilet roll game.
Speaking of Nintendo and cheap games, has anyone had a look at the Wii U eShop? Because
not recently.
I don't know how many publishers are doing it. I know Capcom is like everything's like 90% off or something, or a lot of stuff is.
Does your Wii U still work, Sean? Because have you heard this whole thing about how they don't work?
Oh really? No, mine did. God, it must have been about 6 months ago last time I used it.
Because there's been a lot of people, like especially on YouTube and stuff, have been saying about how they haven't used their Wii U for ages, and they've recently tried to boot it up, and it just boots up with an error.
Oh,
like
wow.
there's something wrong with it. Like yeah.
Oh, maybe that'll be mine then. But yeah, because this includes like Wii stuff as well. And yeah, I saw loads of people on Twitter being like, if you haven't played Zack and Wiki, fucking sort that out. And I haven't. And to be fair, it looks like the exact sort of thing I would really like. So I might have to sort that out because it's like £2 or something. It's so why not? But yeah.
Okay. Last story. Bong. Google says it is still committed to games as an industry.
Oh yeah.
So Google. So it says that Google is positioning itself as the go-to tech partner for publishers of live service video games. They're doing this by offering their cloud gaming tech to other companies. So Jack Buser told Axios this. He said, "It was at that moment when we basically had to make the decision about Stadia that we realised that at Google Cloud we are at our best when we're helping other people build this stuff, not necessarily building it ourselves." Google's cloud director, yeah. So this is what happened, and then so what they're offering is a 3-parts Google Cloud bundle, which includes cloud storage, data management, and searchable player and game analytics. But apparently Ubisoft's Unity and Niantic are already using this, but they're not going to be offering the streaming option. Which is quite interesting. Like they're not going to be offering to let people stream games over it. Apparently, this is because it's too deeply tied to Stadia. And that's been kind of like gone, obviously.
Threw all the computers in the bin. Sorry.
Yeah.
Can't.
So yeah, they
can't
work
anymore.
Yeah, so they can't do anything with it. So which is weird because I thought the whole point was that they were going to kind of keep this going, but then use it, sell it to other businesses. But it seems they're not. They're just offering their cloud stuff like Amazon Web Services.
And and it wouldn't be the first bit of tech that like we as capital G gamers assumed to be a failure, whereas actually, like I've mentioned before, like Kinect in industry actually still gets a lot of use. Like it's broadly considered a success, but obviously to us it's like, it's the funny, stupid peripheral. Remember when we saw the man's foot, etc. So it's just funny how the perception of these things can be different. But yeah, well, I feel really good that Google's still committed to games. I feel reassured.
Yeah, definitely.
No one with an ounce of sense would actually get involved with Google for any of this stuff. Like they can't be trusted. Like just go to Xbox. They got they got the cloud stuff, and they got the lot. They got the streaming. Why would you possibly
go to the people who don't routinely shut down things that everyone's finding quite useful? I mean, not Stadia so much, but the other stuff.
Why would anyone do this? And the fact that you said the streaming is so closely tied to Stadia, what they didn't think about this at all, did they? They did not think.
I mean, I do wonder whether, do you reckon, because like Sony signed that deal, didn't they, with Microsoft to use like Azure, for like all of their stuff. Whether they kind of regret that now, whether they could have like got in on the Stadia bandwagon or whatever somehow, done some sort of partnership with Google instead, which I guess is now not possible. But I don't know.
It's okay. Sony got Gaikai; they'll just use that instead.
Yeah.
I mean, Google aren't doing anything with games, and no one should trust them for anything ever again.
For some reason, I still have the Play Store Play Pass thing, and I don't know why. Because this is for your Android. This is like arcade for Android, right? Although there's like non-game stuff on there, but I mean. Who cares? I don't know why I still have it, because every time I open it up, it's like, here's what's new on Play Pass, and it's just loads of stuff. I'm just not.
How much are you paying for that as well, Sean?
£5 a month.
Whoa, turn it off.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those subscriptions that in the good days, I was money was just everywhere. No one gave a shit this time last year, did they? But whereas now I'm like, this needs to fucking go. That's £5. That's like a half an hour's central heating. That is.
Do any good games get released on Android these days anyway?
I mean, yeah, but through Netflix, right? Most of it.
But you could say the same thing for iOS as well. Like, do any good games get released on that either? Because Yeah, it just feels kind of dead, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like from Netflix, like just at a glance. So obviously, Into the Breach is an all-timer. Before Your Eyes, which we'll talk about in a bit. Kentucky Route Zero's on there. These are just ones I've got installed now. And there's this other one. What's it? It's called? I can't see the full title on my phone because there's too many characters. It's called Scriptic something, and it's like apparently a cool like detective game or something. So there's loads of stuff on Netflix. So I should really cancel that Play Pass subscription.
You absolutely should.
Maybe I'll do it now.
So weird, like gaming on the phone. I just don't do it at all, really. And a few years ago, I thought there was no chance. You know, I just would assume this will be now with me as long as I've got a phone.
Yeah.
I just don't bother.
It's because on the one hand, you sort of think, well, it's a device. It's it's quite a powerful device. I will always have with me. Why wouldn't I have some games on it? But as you say, it's just not. It's not the fertile ground it once appeared to be, is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's also other considerations, like things like battery life as well. Because
true. Don't want to.
I always think, like when I'm going somewhere or whatever, I usually just take my Switch with me because then I can play games, but then I also know that my battery will still be fine on my phone. Yeah, it's I
remember like when I got my first iPhone, and then got a new one because that's what you do in it. I remember thinking like, oh, actually, so the old one I can just use as basically like an iPod Touch, right? And like have all my games and like media stuff on that, and then the phone is just a phone, and that actually works quite well. And I think I've only stopped doing that because I got older and started smashing phone screens left, right, and centre. It was fine back in the day where they just survived, but I'm clumsy as fuck now apparently. But, yeah.
Not so much. I like the fact you said I'm going to keep my media on there. I remember when I first got an iPhone, I'm like, well, I've got an iPod Nano or an iPod Shuffle. Why do I need to put music on my phone? I've got the device for that. And now
I definitely remember thinking but I've got an MP3 player. I've got a good camera. Why would I want all these things in one device? Yeah, because it's really fucking convenient. That's why. But
yeah.
Is that it?
That is it. That's the end of the news.
Yeah. We are flying through. We're going to be in bed in 10 minutes. I love this.
I'm actually quite scared.
What have we been playing? I mean, we just teased it. So, James, do you want to do yours?
Yeah, I've been playing. I mean, I've played virtually nothing this week, apart from. I mean, I did play Hitman on Friday last week, which was enjoyable.
I didn't get a chance to watch it. Was it a good one?
It was enjoyable for me, but I don't think it was very enjoyable for the people watching because I repeatedly made the same mistakes. I spent ages trying to there was this one part where it was like this guy that was just going round in circles, and I steadfastly refused to do the story stuff and tried to figure out a way to kill him, even though it was impossible because it was in there's just loads of everyone around, so it's just completely impossible, to do that. And in the end, I gave in and did one of the story bits, and it was fine. But yeah, I wasted a lot of people's time. I think basically is what I'm trying to say with that. So
streams,
time
wasted.
feel a bit bad about that.
Enjoyed themselves, James.
I was going to say, I'm sure you made it entertaining.
I'm not sure they did. But the other thing I played this week is I played Before Your Eyes, which was so we saw this. Sean, you and I saw this on Sony's showcase. It's a game which has come out already. It's on Android, iOS, PC, Mac, loads and loads of different platforms. And what it is, although it's now come to PSVR 2, and it functions by when you blink, this controls the game basically. And so I played this on PSVR 2, and it's a narrative game, and you start off on a boat with a cat that is talking to you about how it's taking you to be judged at this massive structure in front of you, basically indicating you've died or you're not there anymore, and he's fished your soul out of the water, and and then the whole point is that the cat is gonna speak for you, he's going to talk to the god that is there, who is then going to judge you based on the life you've led.
I'm not having a go at cats. Again,
yeah, go on.
Because we know how that went last time. I'm just saying, if I was being judged or represented, the cat is the last animal I would. Because they're capricious little fuckers.
Well, also this one's pretty shady as well.
Oh, really?
Honestly, yeah, okay. It's I was a bit concerned actually about it. So this guy's like, yeah, I'm gonna speak on your behalf, like in front of the god, and then it's gonna get decided. But I need to know more of your life. Like I need to know your story. Like what is you want me to say. And so he's like, okay, I'm gonna take you back to moments in your life, and basically every time that there's like a metronome comes up on the screen, like going, sort of going tick tock, and when it hits like the center, if you blink at the time that happens, it then advances time. Now it advances time. It doesn't. It feels like it's completely arbitrary, as in how much time it's advancing.
Right.
But you start off as a baby, obviously, like looking around and like sort of your mother's like talking with you, and she's doing a drawing and stuff, and what's quite interesting about it is that the way that it is quite difficult to not blink, actually. You find, like, with these things, and so especially right at the start of the experience, it's like the sessions when you're a baby, they go through really quite quickly, so you only get to see little fragments of that, which I think is quite interesting, because then
that makes sense, doesn't it? Because
it's like that's how I remember being a baby. Well, not being a baby, but being like very young. You just remember like little like sort of fragments.
Yeah, like you remember very little, and also at the time you're desperate to grow up, right?
Yeah,
like you just can't wait to be older. So.
And then that's and then as you progress, you start to unlock more of the story and more of the things that are going on around you with your family. And I mean, it's really weird, because there's parts, particularly towards the middle section of the game, I would say, where you really want to know like more detail, but I'm trying not to blink is the thing, because I don't want the section to end, because I want to see what's more aspects of the story. But then also you blink to like activate things on the screen as well. So at the beginning, when you're a child, you have like things like building blocks and stuff, and you have to like blink at them, and then he like pushes them over and stuff. There's one section where there's like a piano, and you have to like use your eye, you're using your eyes to like guide where the hands are like working on the piano to like play the music and stuff. It's pretty cool. Like it works really well, and in VR it's brilliant, because you really do feel like you are this person in this world, that's with it going around. The problem is with this is I'm really hesitating to say too much about where the story goes, because it would completely ruin the whole point of this game.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, I had a wonderful experience with this. It's only about an hour long, like an hour and a half maybe. And yeah, I don't really know what to say apart from, without wrecking it, because I mean, I came out of it I've been thinking about it since, like quite a bit as well, because it's quite emotionally affecting. I found. I mean, my eyes were streaming by the time I came out. Not really because I had I felt terrible from it, but mostly because I've been trying to hold my eyes open for ages, and they were just like sore, that from that experience.
Yeah.
But I've not had an experience like this for a long time though, like in this way, and and I think being locked away like in this headset gives it a very different kind of vibe, I feel, because you do feel like you are sort of owning this character in a way that I don't think you get that if you were playing it on mobile. I think it'd be.
I was going to say I'll play this, because as I say, it's on my phone via Netflix. So look forward to me next week. But it's just as good, actually.
It might be on Quest. Is it on Quest or not?
Well, because the Quest doesn't do any of the eye tracking or anything, does it? So genuinely wouldn't work on Quest. So, like, to be fair, it's really cool that like a small scale indie game is actually like a really smart use of the PSVR 2 tech. It's nice. Okay.
And it works really well. Like it really works very well. I was very impressed. And So I mean, also cheap. I mean, it was about £11, I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think it's an hour and a half, I'd say it was totally worth it. For that, because the experience and the emotional connection I got out of it, I think made it.
I was going to say, clearly, if it's stuck with you since as well, that's. Yeah, so it's weird to think of that as value for money, but it's
I want to play it so badly. I've heard nothing but good things. A lot of people saying it's really emotional. That's the kind of stuff I love. So yeah, I really want to see what it's like. So, but just to clarify on the blinking things, so you said like you can blink at certain times to move things forward, but also then if you do a random blink, does it also skip?
No. Okay. Only when the metronome's going.
Right.
And so like the metronome goes, and then you blink, and then it happens. But sometimes you kind of do it like I did it involuntarily. I didn't actually want to do that, and I was like, Because I didn't.
But again, that's. I mean, not knowing what the narrative is, I can see that being sort of the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Because isn't life like that? Right.
Yeah, and there's some parts where I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave this moment actually.
Yeah.
And then my stupid eyes made it. It's the shame. But no, but it's very good, and definitely worth a look. I mean, even if you haven't got it on VR, it's worth a look. I would say probably on like Android, iOS, or whatever you're playing it on. It's very good.
Yeah, cool. I mean, do you think it's? I've heard some people. I know it's early, but saying like this is already like a GOTY contender because of what it's made them feel. Say it's up there with that, or it's just like a very great experience.
I'd say it's a very great. I'd say it's a really good experience, but I'm not sure I'd probably go that far. But then again, you see, it depends because this will hit people different ways, and they'll have different resonance with the story. And although I wouldn't say it was that strong for me, but that's because I'm heartless. So
it's true. Definitely wasn't crying, everyone. Make that absolutely clear.
Yeah, I definitely was not crying.
And eyes were just sore.
Yeah, it was just sore eyes. That's what it was.
So is this a game where you don't even need the controllers? It's all done with it. Oh, right, so you put controllers down.
Yeah. I mean, you need them at the start when you're like selecting new game and stuff like that. But apart from that, after that, you could just put it down. You don't need it. It's
okay. Cool. Yeah, that's good.
Very
Matt,
good.
Where are we up to with Destiny? Destiny chat, strap in, everyone.
Yeah. Do you want to skip? No, you can't. Where are we? I finished a campaign. I finished a Lightfall campaign now.
Same.
And I've only done like one or two things after that, basically. So I've barely really done anything. But overall, the campaign, I think I'll say I'm disappointed. I mean, I have not been keeping up with the lore. So I'm not like totally okay with that. I've watched kind of lore things from before, since as well. Some people's opinions on where the story is going and what the story means. But it just wasn't terribly interesting or exciting. And I've played amazing Destiny 2 campaign stories before, where it's like this is like a new Halo game, or new Halo campaign. But it's just, I don't know. It was fun in that it's Destiny, and Destiny feels great to shoot, and the numbers go up. The things I said last week, but as an actual campaign in terms of new exciting things you're seeing, I just don't really think it did enough for me. I mean, I got through it. It's not obviously terribly long, but there wasn't anything totally driving me. There weren't any new exciting mechanics. I don't think the subclass is particularly interesting.
Oh, do you not? I fucking love it.
It's fine, but I wasn't like, oh shit, it's worth it because there's new strand subclass. It's it does allow for some cool moments where you can see these green flowy bits of energy in the sky, and you can use them like your Spider-Man to swing around the environment. And there's some kind of boss encounters that kind of require you to swing around the environment. So it's definitely doing something there, but it wasn't enough to make me think, oh, this is amazing because of that. It was just like an addition, which was fine. I don't know. I just feel a bit. It wasn't like a Destiny campaign I've played before, where I've like, you've got to play this anyway, and if you're not into Destiny, because it basically feels like a new Halo game.
Yeah,
it's not that at all.
Because I'd say like the Witch Queen campaign was that, right? That was legitimately really good. Like the story was actually excellent.
I never played that. Everyone says it's amazing. Kind of tempted to go back and actually buy it now and actually play that to see if it is as good as everyone says, or especially how it compares now to Lightfall. I mean, I can see why people would be annoyed story-wise, because it doesn't really have so many questions.
Well, because I didn't realise. So, for those who haven't played it, a lot of the story revolves around this thing called the Veil, and the baddies are trying to get it, and also it's sort of implied that I can't remember, basically, the baddies trying to get it, you can't let the baddies get it. It's some piece of technology. It's not really explained what it is. I thought... that was just me not reading the Grimoire cards and stuff. I was like, oh, well, it'll explain somewhere what this is. But apparently not. Apparently Bungie have said, oh, we're going to add a mission that explains what the Veil actually fucking is.
It's all leading up to the Veil, and then at the end you're like, still don't know what the Veil is.
No.
And I assumed it will be answered in like the seasonal content. So we've done the campaign, and now, but the seasons have started, and that goes on for like, I don't know, weeks or months, I don't
know. I think they're quarterly. I think.
Okay.
But there'll usually be sort of 6 weeks of like story missions every week, and then the season just kind of plays out. like people will still do the activity, try and unlock stuff, and then things
So
really
my
sort of kick off.
assumption is that things will be answered in that seasonal content rather than the campaign, which, again, as someone who hasn't been hammering Destiny for weeks and years at this point, I'm like, is that? I guess that's how it's typically done. It's interesting that it's not in the campaign; it's just in the extra content. But whatever. I enjoy playing it because Destiny's Destiny, but I wouldn't even properly recommend someone goes out and plays Lightfall as a campaign because it just kind of came and went, really.
It's strange, like even when there's been a new really good Destiny campaign, it's never really felt like, oh, even if you've never played Destiny, you should play this, because then that just comes with a baggage of like, oh, you're gonna have to learn what the fuck is going on.
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, so I also finished the campaign. I thought it was fine, as you say. I do like Neomuna, the city, but yeah, as a campaign, it's not their best, sadly.
Okay, so you've done the campaign, like both of you have done that. Where do you go now? Like, what's the?
So it does do a good job of, like, when you finish the campaign, it comes up with this screen that's basically like, right, here's what you can do now. There's there's this quest line that you can pursue to like get a new exotic weapon, and then there's like other stuff to unlock. Like when you finish the campaign, you properly unlock the new subclass. Like previously, it just sort of enables it for bits during missions, like little set pieces and stuff. But then you've properly unlocked it, and now with every class, there's all these like aspects, which are like ways you can sort of customize the class. Like you can change the way some of the abilities work, or there's like different buffs and different effects and stuff. That stuff is cool if you want to dig into it, but obviously the subclass works out of the box. It's not like it's missing anything. It's just further tweaks you can make to it. And then and as you say, as Matt says, there's also the seasonal stuff. So that's like kind of like a separate plot, or like that basically people are being kidnapped and taken to these darkness pyramids, which is fine. Those missions are really good fun. Have you done any of those yet, Matt?
No. I just
really
did a
good.
bit where I had to like there was one side missions where you had to like gather bits of information around the place, and I think, I mean, again, having never done this where I've done the campaign and seasonal stuff, I can see why it will be interesting to keep it going. And I'm still playing little bits here and there, so I might keep playing it. But yeah, so I think I assume the story will carry on in that, and maybe we'll get some more answers.
So, okay, for somebody who, this is a ridiculous question because everyone always asks this question. I don't want to ask that. Forget it.
No, go on.
Okay, there's now, if you were to boot up Destiny 2, as like somebody like me who played it a fair bit, but then bounced off quite a long time ago, there's no way to actually just completely like catch up anymore, is there? Because the fact that stuff's been put in the vault, or like you can't experience the entire story of Destiny 2 anymore, can you?
No, you can't. So the Red War, which was the campaign when Destiny 2 first launched, that's gone. Yeah. The Forsaken DLC, that's gone. I say DLC, the expansion, whatever, that's gone. So that's where Cade got killed and stuff. I think everything. So there's now there's Beyond Light, Wrath of the Witch Queen, and now Lightfall. They're all still available, but then obviously it's a risky thing saying like, oh yeah, you should buy Beyond Light, because has that got like a time limit on it? I don't know. I can't remember if they've said.
How does this work if you've paid cash for this though as well?
Well, there you go. That's where it gets really scummy, isn't it?
Because I mean, I understand why they've done this. I mean, so really the only way that you can do this if you want to play this game now is you just go in and just whatever's available, you can do that. But you're never really going to get a complete experience anymore. And on the one hand, I understand that you're supposed to feel like it is a thing, like it's a story playing out in real time, and you are always joining it at the current point. Right? Yeah. I sort of get that, and like I say, the way the seasonal stuff works is really cool because it feels like a little soap opera playing out sort of week by week. Genuinely, like they've made really good use of that. But yeah, with that comes the fact that once the season's over, it's over,
and you will never get to experience that story. And then then there's the further issue of them taking stuff out of the game, which again I sort of sympathise with, because that game's like fucking 120 gig or something.
Yeah.
Like I had to delete a lot of stuff off my Series S to get back into Destiny 2.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Okay. So sorry, Ace of Jason in the chat is saying they aren't vaulting any more expansions. Cool. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you've just got to make peace with the fact that you're never going to get the entire full picture. If you do, you'll have to watch YouTube videos to catch up. But it's basically about playing what's left. I mean, I didn't play Beyond Light. I don't think. Haven't played Witch Queen. Yep. Witch Queen, and have played Lightfall. So maybe there's more stuff for me to go back to. But I feel like as much as it would be cool to the idea of going back to the beginning and playing a lot, you just can't do it now. You just cannot do it.
It's funny as well, like. So, if you were to start a new character now, you would, I mentioned last week, you would do the New Light campaign, where it's like, hey, you've just woken up and you do this, the bit in old Russia, and then you join the story as it is currently playing out. Whereas, like, if you were to load up an old character, I suppose you're just narratively supposed to assume you've just been having a big sleep for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I just
Hang on, so if you do that, Sean, like you do New Light, so will that include some of the stories that were in the vaulted content, or will it just have a massive gap and say there you go, and expect players to try and keep
basically
up with it?
Big gap? Yeah, the sort of the assumption you're supposed to make is that so like your new Guardian has woken up in the current place in the story, and that New Light campaign is like just some introductory stuff to teach you how the game works.
Oh, okay.
And then like I say, and then you're just joining the story as it currently sits. So I mean, it's not a terrible solution. The New Light stuff is good, and if you were a lapsed player, like anyone can play the New Light stuff. It's not only new characters, so it would be a fine reintroduction to it.
See, this sort of stuff makes a lot more sense if it's like a subscription service, where you're paying a sub, to this.
Yeah.
But paying, in the past, which I know it did work, whereby you paid for expansion sets and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. If you're not able to really play those anymore, that feels a bit weird.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
I think in terms of, sorry, James.
I was just wondering whether like all those things like World of Warcraft and all that. I mean, did they do this? Are they like?
I don't think they've ever removed stuff. No.
Yeah.
But then again, as you say, it's if there's an MMO where you're just paying a monthly fee and you just accept that the thing you are playing is going to continually evolve, sometimes that's going to mean stuff being removed. But you're not thinking, but I literally specifically explicitly paid for that.
Yeah, I should own this. This content.
But like if you're just paying a monthly fee, it's like, well, I'm paying for access to an evolving world.
Yeah,
that's different. But
But then you got MMOs like Final Fantasy 14, whereby if you want to play the new stuff, haven't you got to play all the previous campaign?
I can't remember. I'm sure someone told me you can skip like the original main campaign, I think. But then people say like, but it's still pretty good, and it's context for the later stuff.
Should play through it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I did read or watch one of Byf's videos. Byf, if for people listening who don't know, he's the self-named Law Daddy of Destiny. So watch if you want to know what's happening. I basically watched a couple of Byf videos, and I think before Lightfall came out, he was saying, Lightfall feels like Infinity War. It's like, the penultimate massive moment before we get to Endgame, before we get to the last bit of DLC, which isn't the last DLC ever of Destiny 2. It's just the last one of the Light and Dark saga.
So Sarah corrected us on that via WhatsApp the other day. Yeah, so the next one, the final shape, next year's expansion, is they haven't said it's the last bit of thing for Destiny 2. It's just the last of the Light and Darkness saga. Ooh.
So what people are kicking off about, or not less than happy, is that this doesn't really seemingly set us up for the big end game style thing. And
but then the seasons will do that, because everyone. I stopped paying attention to Destiny 2 sort of halfway through the last year of it, and then it was like the weeks running up to this one being released, everyone was just like, holy shit, they've just, the last bit of this season's just happened. It's a fucking brilliant mission. It's setting everything up for Lightfall. I'm really excited. So, presumably that's going to happen again. I don't know.
But no, I'm glad I played it. I was, when I was playing it, during it, I was basically gonna, at the end of this, will I be not off Destiny? That's it. That's me back on Destiny. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I think maybe if I'll be more inspired by the campaign, that would be the case. I mean, what the 8 hours or so of the campaign did do is that by the end, I was like, okay, I understand how Destiny works now. So it definitely works as a great tutorial. To like, okay, now you can go off and how most of the things work. Yeah, we'll see if I try and go back into it properly. How about you, Sean? Can you see yourselves properly getting back in Destiny, or not?
Kind of. I mean, I'm never gonna, I've only ever done the raids like a year later, where I'm massively over leveled for them and can focus on the puzzle stuff rather than actually being good at the game. So I'm never gonna be at that level where I'm like, right, let's do the fucking raid the day it comes out, or whatever. I am enjoying being back, certainly, and I'm intrigued to see like what the story arc is for the current season and stuff. So yeah, it's just a nice game to have in your back pocket when you're not sure what to play. That's where it sits for me, and that's not like a backhanded compliment. I think there's real value in a game like Destiny for that. Like, I'm never going to be obsessive about it, but when I'm not sure what to do, it's like, yeah, fuck it, Destiny, and I will almost certainly have a good time,
Well, we'll end this now because people are probably not happy about this chat.
Sorry, this went on longer than I thought.
On the seasonal stuff, is it where like every week there's seasonal stuff, so you could theoretically smash through the week's worth of content in one day and in a waiting, or is there just so much?
Yes. The way it works is so. I might not get this completely right. I think it's changed a bit over time, but broadly speaking, So every week, so whenever the weekly reset is, I think it's on Tuesdays, there will be like a new story mission for the season. But then there's always an activity. So whatever the activity is, it'll be like, right, do that 3 times, and then that feeds into like a whole like upgrade system where there's always like. I can't explain it without getting into bullshit. Destiny proper now.
But essentially, the story stuff, like, it's basically you have one story mission a week and then other stuff surrounding it.
Basically, yeah. Okay. And the stuff around it is optional. It's just for getting cool gear. If you just want to follow the story, you can just load it up every Tuesday evening, see what the new story mission is, do that, and off you go. But yeah, if you want to get more involved with it, because to be fair, the seasonal activities are always really fun. I've never they're always like massive fucking like stuff fucking blowing up everywhere. They're always really good fun. So they're worth doing.
Cool,
I would say. Right, Matt, you've been playing the Resi 4 demo, according to this. I'm sort of surprised at me and James for not getting around to this.
Yeah,
because this is quite a big deal.
But as I said, like I was looking forward to this game, but then now I would like to play it in VR, and we don't know when that's coming.
Here we go.
And I'm not sure I want to.
Flat screen gaming is not good enough for him.
It's not anymore. No.
Now.
I mean, after playing Summer Village in VR, I really think I'd like to experience it that way, and I think it'd be horrendous, and I might even stream it because I think it'd be quite funny.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with this. This is why I've not played it, because I just thought I'm going to wait. But yeah.
Fair enough.
You should play a demo at least. I mean, demo is only like 20 minutes long. I mean, you can probably rinse for it even quicker, really, but it took me about 20 minutes. I mean, I haven't played Resident Evil 4. Well, no, I played a little bit. I played like the first hour or so on the Quest version when that came out.
And that's the only time you played it?
No. So I finished the game on GameCube.
Oh, right.
And I haven't played it since the version on Quest 2 a year or so ago, and now we're here with this demo. So my memories of it are patchy, at least, apart from that opening section. I mean, I guess all the basics are, it looks absolutely gorgeous. This demo, I mean, it looks amazing. I mean, and having only most recently played the Quest version, it's obviously night and day compared to that. And then it's not even like, oh, this is how I remember it on GameCube, because this is nothing like how I remember it on GameCube. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, this is how it was in my mind. Even at the time, you know, it was nothing like as good looking as this. Even at the time, it was like a nice looking game, but I think it looks amazing now. The demo. For those of you who know Resident Evil 4 or have played the demo, it's just basically you get into the village, there's a fight, and then the demo ends. One thing I will say is that I don't remember the enemies being this ferocious in the GameCube or even the Quest version.
I mean, that bit. So is it the big fight in the village where it ends with the bell going and yeah? So I mean that was always quite stressful, but perhaps more so.
It's definitely stressful. I mean, I don't know if they've like increased the difficulty or I'm just rubbish, but yeah, like, I died like a couple of times. I was like, hang on, because there's so many of them. They're all up in your grill when you're like trying to find a way out, and then I know it's just basically about surviving as long as possible.
That's the thing, though. Just imagine that in VR. That'd be awful.
No, I don't want to. This is what I'm interested in. Is because Resi 4 is like the only Resident Evil game I've played. Basically, no, that's not true. I finished 5, it just wasn't that memorable.
No, it's a terrible game. Yeah.
And I put that down to the fact that it's not really a horror game. Resi 4, like it's just a really good action game with horror themes, and obviously there are zombies. What's sorry?
Thought that, but this felt scarier than I remember. Again, 4 being, because I remember 4 being. I was stupid. There's like massive kicks, and it's all just hammed up, and the kicks are still there, and there's still like some choice dialogue, obviously, but like it looks so good, and the music is so tense. Like there's some early bits where you're like creeping around his house. You're like, okay, well, back when I remember playing it, this wasn't scary. Just like some dumb house. And now you got like, an incredibly looking, scary, dark house. I'm like, this is not the Resident Evil 4 I thought it was, where it's just dumb action and high kicks. I was like, oh, hang on. Maybe it's not for me.
Like I was listening the other week, the Waypoint podcast, talking about the Dead Space remake. Because I think they did a series of streams where one of them, like side by side, one was playing the original and one was playing the remake.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they would say like it's super interesting because everyone talks about Dead Space as a horror game, whereas actually, if you go back to the original, it's an action game, right? It's scary. No one's saying it's not scary, but it's not like there's a lot of noise, a lot of shit kicking off. Whereas the remake is the horror game that everyone says the original is. Do you know what I mean? That it's a lot more tense, a lot more moments of nothing happening and you just being shite scared. So yeah, I wondered if this was going to get like a similar treatment.
Hang on, I've got a really, really stupid question that I need to ask about this. Is it in first person?
Oh, it's third person.
Right, okay. Because I was going to say, if it was like the more modern, the other Resident Evil games that have come out more recently, which have been in first person, that would also explain why it's scarier, because that is I find that much scarier than third person, but this is still third person as well, so
it's still third person. It's just the stuff I do with sound and how good it looks. So I was like, hang on, this is way more tense than I remember it being. And yeah, like the fight in the village, it's like, hang on, this is too much for me, maybe. But I got through that, and I am excited to play the full game because I loved 4 so much. So yeah, I'm definitely pumped for it. This didn't really need demo. I was going to get it anyway, but I'm glad to play the demo. James, you should play this. It's only like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'll play it. I'll play it before the next show.
And Sean, you should try as well.
I will. I will. Like I say, like Resi 4's an all timer, like 100%. So yeah, I'm certainly intrigued. It's just interesting, like because obviously I know like the remakes have been really good. But obviously, Resi 4 being so different to the originals, does that mean you remake it differently? Do you know what I mean? Or do you remake it in the same way you remade 2 and 3? I do need to play it.
Yeah, my memory of 4 is so bad. I'm sure they've done loads of, changes or updates, or maybe like even we don't know how much they've kind of changed the story, or updated mechanics even. I'm going to assume there's actually an absolute ton of changes, and if you're like a real hardcore fan, you'll be noticing these things straight away. But yeah, it looks like Resident Evil 4, but it looks amazing. So yeah, excited to play more of that. It's on the 24th, so not long now.
Oh god, right, that's really soon.
That's really soon, yeah.
Nice. I have been playing Walkabout mini golf again.
Yes.
I was saying to Matt, like I'm trying not to just bring this up every time they put a new course out. Like the Atlantis one was like a month ago, and it's really nice, but like there was other, and I didn't have much to say about it other than that, so didn't mention it. However, this one is the Upside Down course, and it's fucking brilliant. It's like so. It's basically it's in this sort of urban setting, but where gravity's all over the place, right? So as you're walking around, you'll be, on like a road, and then the wall next to you is a park, right? Like as if that was like, and that the wall is grass, and there's picnic blankets and stuff, and it's just that, like all over the shop. Like you'll walk through one door and everything's sideways or upside down or whatever, and then within each hole there's these like sort of gravity fields. So obviously you start out on the ground, and then you'll see this like glowing sort of indicator like pointing upwards. So like the very first hole, you start on the ground and the hole is on the ceiling. So you hit the ball, it goes through the gravity field, and then whoop, like gravity reverses, it goes up to the ceiling. But then what we didn't expect was, I think we assumed that like whenever the ball changes gravity, I think we assumed like the player would change with it, but you don't.
Yeah.
So there's
really?
all these so whenever the ball's on like the ceiling or like a wall or something, you're still on the ground. So you're having to like hold the stick, the club in the air, and like knock it across the ceiling or like across the wall or whatever. And
that's really good.
It's incredible how much it fucks you up, because you would think, oh well, surely that's not that hard. The amount of shots I was just completely missing because just unable to judge it somehow. It's just the way it plays with the mechanics. It's just fascinating. The way it looks and the way it's like, it does really mess with your head a bit. Like, even though it's not like you're, like flying around and changing gravity and stuff, you're always stood upright. It's just that the world looks weird, and getting your head around the way the balls are going to behave and stuff. Like, you'll sometimes see there's like one hole, I think it might be the last one, where there's just a massive gap, but then there's like a gravity up field, and then a down one, and then an up one, and then a down one. So you're basically just hitting it so that the ball kind of catches them all and just kind of goes like woo, like up and down, and makes it across this massive gap.
No, tiny wings.
Yeah. Really good, really, really good. And people are probably sick of me saying it. They've done it again, and it's £3, and they could be charging more at this point, and they don't, and I love them for it.
Yeah, because they increased the price, didn't they, of their DLCs, but not by much.
Yeah, but I think they were like £2.70 or something.
I'm eagerly awaiting the PSVR 2 release of this.
Yeah, how far away is it? Do you know?
Essential PSVR 2 purchase, I think. I think if you got PSVR 2, even if you got it on another platform, I would be buying it again on PSVR 2 just to see what it looks like, and it's just a bloody amazing game.
I mean, it's been announced that it is happening, but they haven't given a date, but it's apparently cross-platform as well. So that's perfect. That'd be good.
Yeah, man.
I think I'm gonna get this because it's been too long since I played Walkabout mini golf. I haven't played it since the streams, in fact, and I want to play this. I haven't played Atlantis either, so I'm gonna get this. I think I'll play it in a week.
Here's a question: can you use can you use Discord via a Quest?
I don't think you can. No.
Okay.
I mean, there's no Discord app on Quest. If that was what you're asking.
No, I was just wondering because like you can obviously do that now between like PS2 and Xbox using Discord. Like you could.
I see. Chat, I mean, the game's got in-game voice chat anyway, so
yeah, that's true.
So yeah, you'd be right. I've also been playing Fez. Do you remember Fez?
I do remember Fez.
10-year-old Fez. So this came about. I don't know if you're aware. Simon Parkin's doing a new podcast called My Perfect Console. It's basically Desert Island Games, but fine. Like, he's had loads of really interesting guests on. One of them being Phil Fish. Who, fair to say, didn't like. I'm not going to say I didn't like him, but there were moments where it's like, oh, he's kind of coming across as a bit of a jerk. There was he won an IGF and was allegedly running around shouting, "Suck my dick, I won an IGF." And there was that incident.
There was all that stuff with Japanese games as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, so he was asked, wasn't he? He was on a panel, and a Japanese game developer was like, "Oh, like what do you think, Japanese game developers should be doing?" And he was just like, "Oh, Japanese games just suck," or whatever. Yeah. So, not the best sort of public image at the time. But then he famously disappeared, cancelled Fez 2, and has been sort of out of the public eye ever since. Yeah, so he's on My Perfect Console. He's absolutely lovely. He's a fascinating guest. Sorry, Matt.
What's he been up to in the intervening years?
Well, this is what's funny is he basically he doesn't say, right? It sounds like he must have been like doing stuff like under pseudonyms or secretly or whatever. He basically he's just like no one knows. Like no one will know what I've contributed to. Like it's not even all been games. I've been doing all sorts of other stuff. But he comes across really well. And has like impeccable taste in games. He's just finished Breath of the Wild. He's intentionally dragged it out, and he's allowed himself to finish it now because Tears of the Kingdom's nearly out.
Oh my god!
And he's like, because I don't want to run out of this like ever.
That's amazing. He was dragging out for 6 years?
Yeah. So and it was just interesting as well, like because he, I think like so many of us stay on Twitter because we're like, but it's such a good tool for educating yourself and being informed and like for all the mental damage it causes, memes, for all the mental damage it causes. I do broadly feel like I'm a better person for it. And then here's Phil Fish, who's just fucked it off for the last 10 years and clearly come back a better person for it. So maybe it's not all that essential. Because he talks about Indie Game the movie as well and says he's like, I've told them they should do it again, but like maybe not just white men making 2D platformers this time. Like, because actually the scope of that film is horribly limited in hindsight. I'll say in hindsight, plenty of people called it out at the time, but like people like me were just like, oh, this is brilliant. This legitimizes video games. I love it. So yeah, well worth listening to. And yeah, so I've gone back to Fez because I realised I own it on Steam, so obviously I can play it on the deck. It's still really good. Have you guys played it?
No, I didn't have an Xbox 360 at the time.
Oh man!
So I think I definitely missed out on it. No.
Yeah. Well, because annoyingly because I think the Xbox version isn't backwards compatible. I looked for it on the store and didn't come up.
Oh really? So that's it. You can't even play it.
Yeah, as far as I can tell. So I was really chuffed when I found out. I had it I don't even remember how I got it on Steam. Presumably it was in a bundle or something. It absolutely holds up. It's still brilliant. Do I need to explain what Fez is? Probably do, right? Probably
should, yeah.
10 years. Basically, it starts out, it's a pixel art 2D platformer, and then your character... Gizmo discovers the third dimension, and then basically it's still moment to moment plays like a 2D platformer, but at any point you can pull the left or right trigger and it turns the world 90 degrees, like rotates everything, and which still looks great. It's still like a really cool visual effect. And basically it plays around with perspective in really clever ways because, from one point of view, two platforms that are like miles apart, suddenly you rotate it and actually from this point of view, they're really close. Then you can hop to the really far away platform and then turn things back again and you're somewhere miles away from where you were before. And just, it continually plays on that in really interesting ways. It feels a bit stiff now, like as a platformer. Character feels a bit slow. Like you can grab ledges and it feels a bit like sometimes a bit sort of wonky a bit unreliable as to whether or not he's going to grab a platform and actually hoist himself up. But I mean that's like the only complaint. The soundtrack is still beautiful. It's disaster piece. Really fucking good. If you've never played it or even if you have, play Fez again. It's really good.
It's out on Switch now as well.
Is it?
So, yeah.
100% get it on Switch. Have you played it, James?
Nope. I never played it either.
Mate, you'll fucking love it. Honestly, it's really, really, really good.
The only thing I know about it is that it's like incredibly cryptic, or you need like a pen and paper with you if you're going to solve the puzzle.
Yes and no. There's a secret language in the game, but it's very much like. It's just like a substitution cipher. So basically, it's just a series of characters, but each that character is A, that character is B. So it's nothing like Tunic, for example, which like the written language in that is actually really like weirdly sophisticated. So yeah, basically you can just find like the alphabet on the internet and then just go from there. There are really cool puzzles that like feels really weird that they still work. So like there's one where you go into a room, there's a QR code on the wall, And I'm just like, oh, right, okay. And then you read it with your phone, and it's got like basically a cheat, like the button input for a cheat, and it gets you one of these cubes that you're trying to find. And you're just like, shit, I don't know if I did that in whenever it was, 2013.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that was before QR codes were...
Yeah.
I mean, QR codes are like best comeback in the last like 10 years, surely. Like, how are they now regularly a part of our lives? I mean, obviously, because, COVID.
Thanks to COVID.
But I did not foresee QR codes making such a comeback.
It's weird, isn't it?
Here they are. But he was obviously, very future thinking.
Exactly. Like at the time, that must have seemed like I assume there would have been plenty of people would have played it and been like, "Oh, what's this weird symbol on the wall?"
Was it a barcode?
Yeah. So yeah, that was really cool. And yeah, there's other sort of weird puzzles and hidden stuff like all throughout. Really, really good.
Is it a long game?
I don't know. I'm definitely going through it way quicker than I remember getting through it back in the day.
I just had a look on how long to beat, and it's like 6 hours.
All right,
which is it's not bad.
Okay. Yeah, well worth a go. The only other game I was going to talk about briefly is Blade and Sorcery, because as you mentioned at the start, ended up streaming quite a bit of this. It's one of those VR games where the pitch is very simple. It's medieval, running around fighting people. There's melee weapons. There's bows and arrows. There's magic spells. It's fucking unbelievable. Like it's still it's still early access. I've talked about it on the show before. I couldn't even particularly tell you like what's changed or been added since I last played it. Other than I loaded it up on the stream and had a really good time. But it's still utterly disturbing, some of the stuff you end up doing. I mean, if you watch the stream, about the number of times where I like managed to like hit someone or stab them or whatever, and then they kind of because obviously people like will fall over and then it will turn out they're not actually dead. So someone will fall to the ground and then you're there with your knife like, is he dead? Is he dead? And then it's like fucking shiv him in the face, just in case.
And can you cut limbs off and stuff?
Yes, you can cut limbs off. Well, this is the thing. So I streamed it and I had no idea what I was doing. And I am going to stream it again on Thursday. But I think it might be terrifying to watch now because I've learned quite a bit more about how the game works. So I was telling you guys, like, I've figured out how to like change your loadout before you go into a level.
He knows too much, James.
Yeah.
One's a trained killer now.
Well, so basically I worked out, you can just like equip yourself with like 2 punch daggers, right?
Yeah.
And I worked out that like the way to sprint in the game is to like run with your arms like that. So yes, I'm just fucking running around and then like jumping and like stabbing people in the face like I'm in Assassin's Creed or something. Except it's really horrible because it's first person VR. It's absolutely terrifying. And then also the because like there's like lightning magic, fire magic, and gravity magic. And basically I've worked out that the gravity magic stuff is basically like full-on Darth Vader shit. You can just reach out and be like, right, grab you by the neck, slowly pull you over, stab, throw you to one side.
I mean, could you use that to like squash someone? Or
I don't know if you can squash people, but you can tear them limb from limb.
Right, okay.
Yep, you can just grab an arm, grab a leg, and then just pull them apart, and that works. So look forward to seeing that.
Man, I've got to play this game. It sounds so much fun.
It's just interesting because it's so many things you've done in games before, but it was a button press, right? So you didn't really care. Like we've all done like fucking stealth takedowns in a game where you've crept up behind someone. Whereas in this, you can creep up behind someone and put your hand over their mouth and hold their mouth and then slit the throat.
Really? Wow.
Yes, it's horrible. There was a bit in last week's stream where I was trying to like.
You don't sound like you think it's horrible, Sean. You sound like you find it quite exhilarating.
There's a bit in the stream where I can't remember what I was trying to do. I think I was trying to like grab someone who was hitting me, and I actually just sort of put my hand on their mouth, and I was just like, ugh, and I just started punching them in the head repeatedly because it felt weird. Blade and Sorcery, 10 out of 10.
You did multiplayer in this game?
It's not, sadly.
No, I think that's probably for the best.
It might be for the best, actually. Yeah. I mean, if they ever added co-op, that would be absolutely sensational. Like I was talking to a friend of the show and moderator Lindy about it, and I was like, yeah, but can you imagine how immediately like sadistic that would get? Because he'd just be like, right, you hold his arms, and I'll stab him, and I'll just.
You hold his arms, I'll hold his legs, and we'll both pull at the same time.
Wait, like hoy him over the cliff or whatever. Yeah. Strange game, very fun game. I'm gonna stream it on Thursday. I'm also gonna try and install some mods. There's a massive modding community. The Star Wars stuff.
I can imagine. What I mean, was it like mostly player skins or?
It's there's like I said, there's loads of Star Wars stuff. There's probably way more than that, but I'm very interested in the Star Wars stuff because obviously that is just fucking taking limbs off left, right, and centre.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of that. It looks brilliant. That does. Yeah.
So playing Sorcery, very good.
Excellent.
It's a bit troubling for me.
A little bit troubling. The way I'm justifying it to myself is the disturbing stuff you end up doing is it's just out of desperation. You're just trying to survive. So it's fine.
It's fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a story to it, or you just like the story is a killer?
No, not yet. There's just like, so it's still early access. So there's like different like arenas you can fight in, and it just like spawns waves of enemies, and then there's like this mode where it's like a sort of, it's not really a roguelike, but it's like a run based, slightly randomly generated environment, and you're just making your way through this building and killing people, and there is an end apparently, but I've never found it. I think there is like a campaign being worked on, but
right. I would like to see it on PSVR too.
Yeah, 100%. Questions? Hour and a half in, we're on questions. This might be the dream sub 2 hour.
I know. I'm not. Yeah, okay, good. Keep going.
If you want to send us a question,
it's not a race.
Go to it is a race against ourselves. Go to tcgs.co/deartcgs. This question comes from Bisto. It says, "Hey, how you living, girl? Just wanted to say you guys are the best and the highlight of the week. No idea what I would have done over the last few years without you. P.S. What's your go-to gravy recipe / granules of choice?"
Can I really annoy everybody and say I usually go for no gravy?
Whoa!
With some of these things.
What the fuck?
Now, let me explain why.
Okay.
It's because I like to. One of the reasons, if you're having like a big roast dinner, right? I like to appreciate each of the things in that, and I always just feel if you just dump a load of gravy over it, it's like you lose. Gravy. Yeah, it just all tastes of gravy. It's like, what's the point?
I know what you mean, but I feel like most of those things are designed to have gravy on them. Do you know what I mean?
It complements the flavors, doesn't it? It shouldn't take the flavor.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it can overwhelm. That's the problem.
Do you know, I don't have a gravy recipe. Nu does. She makes amazing gravy. But it's one of the things where I am just like, fucking Bisto's fine. Get over it.
I mean, Bisto's fine, but if you've been like, say, like, cooking some meat all day or slow cook or whatever, like you can take some of the juices from that and put that in the gravy.
You might as well. Incredible. Yeah, 100%. But no, it's not something I have a recipe for in my back pocket, shamefully.
No, the recipe is, often boil kettle, 2 heaped spoonfuls, whisk, done. There's your recipe.
Michael says, when was... I think this might be a really quick one. When was the first time you appeared on a podcast / radio show, and how did you feel before your first appearance? I mean, it was all just... So for me, obviously, it was Dark Zero. I guess for you guys, it was Joypod, right?
Yeah, it would have been Joypod, definitely. I don't remember it, though. I don't remember when it... I don't honestly remember it when it was.
Yeah, same here. Which is kind of sad, really.
I remember going on Play Radio and being terrified before I did that. But yeah, that's the only one I remember like that. I don't remember being bothered being on a podcast because obviously it's it's not live, is it?
No.
So it's less intimidating.
I think it doesn't count, but like when I was a teenager, me and a friend used to like record skits, what we thought were funny skits. And
you called them skits?
I don't think we called them skits. The Jackass hadn't happened then, so no one knew the word skit. We used to sort of record little bits and stuff. But again, that was for no one's consumption really. It's just for our own amusement. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know when my first kind of stuff on Joypod was. Because when I Yeah, when I came to Leeds, the job I thought I had didn't exist, and in my
Oh wow.
in my my in my incredible cleverness, which is a word, I thought, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I haven't got a job. I'm going to spend loads of money and do like a radio course at like the local, I think it's Galaxy FM was the time, the local radio thing. And yeah, it was just, there's like 12 of us all this like course in like in the actual studios and do all that stuff. So, I mean, again, I was kind of terrified, but that was amazingly good fun. Amazingly good fun.
Yeah. What was
But sadly, I don't remember my first kind of actual podcast appearance. Probably for the best. It undoubtedly be terrible.
Yeah. But what was the job you thought you were moving for?
Well, when I worked down south, I worked for it's part of the Auto Trader family.
Nice.
And for 2 magazines, which came out each month. One was called Boats and Yachts for Sale.
Cool.
You'll never guess what that magazine was about.
Title,
and there was like Boat Trader, which again, and yeah, like I thought I'd arranged a transfer from the Chichester office to the Leeds office. Got to the Leeds office, just at the back of the bus station, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm here for the job." They're like, "We've got a part-time job. We think we've got a part-time job." I was like, "I have moved to Leeds, and I thought this was a full-time job with my name in it." Like, no, it's a part-time job here. I was like, oh, okay. And also, obviously, I moved up from Bognor to Leeds with no savings, no money. So I just, smash loads of credit cards, use that money to, spend money on the radio course instead of actually, surviving. But look at me now.
Yeah. Worked out, didn't it?
Don't look at me now.
Yeah. The next question comes from Volax. He says, "Hi guys, love the pod. It's a highlight every week. After Sean and Matt talked about Destiny last week, I was tempted to go back in. I've not played since Sony bought Bungie and removed it from Game Pass as soon as it was added. I remember seeing a trailer at the Game Awards, I think, saying that it was coming to Game Pass with Beyond Light, and it was a big deal with everyone reporting on it, only for it to be added and then removed, and no one said anything. I guess the question is, why can Sony seem to get away with things like this? Because if it was Microsoft, it would have been damaging to the industry. Brackets, Sony only did this to stop Microsoft owning Destiny, or at least losing players. Sorry for the long one, keep living it." It's not keep living it. It's thanks for living it. So I think the one thing that needs clarifying here is it didn't like go on Game Pass and then immediately disappear. I think it was on for like a year. I also think it going off Game Pass preceded Sony's purchase of Bungie by like 6 months or something. But I mean, who's to say? Maybe they were already in talks with Sony at that point, and they were just like, yeah, well, obviously we're not going to renew the Game Pass stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll give Xbox a year, and then we'll get purchased.
I think what's perhaps more telling is that I'm pretty sure it went off Game Pass the same day that Halo Infinite came out, which that may have been a decision from Microsoft. Which like, well, why would we keep Destiny on Game Pass when we've got our own sci-fi first-person shooter coming out? So
I mean, the broader point here is fair though. It's in like, why is it? This is rubbish, isn't it, when this sort of thing happens?
Yeah.
Especially like, and it's, I mean, in the same way that, with Microsoft buying Bethesda, like stuff like Starfield and stuff, we ain't going to get that on PlayStations either. It's like, it is rubbish that this happens. And, whoever the company is that's doing it.
And and as I've said, it's particularly rubbish in Destiny's case because that, like, having played through that campaign via Game Pass, and then returning to the game, when Witch Queen came out and being like, oh yeah, you don't have that subclass anymore because that's you played that campaign on Game Pass. Very strange.
What I found strange about the Destiny thing leaving Game Pass, which, I guess I should have expected it, loads of things come and go, but it was such a massive deal that Destiny is on Game Pass. I just kind of thought it will be on here, especially a live service game, for a long time.
Yeah.
Not just literally 12 months in and out.
Well, it was like kind of
a constant benefit of having Game Pass. You will have Destiny as part of the subscription. You'll be playing this game for years, but it's okay because it'll all be part of your Game Pass sub. So when that left, I was like, hang on, what? It felt like 2 minutes. It may have been a year, but it felt really, really quick.
I mean, I remember people being really excited about this because there was that sort of perception that it was going to be like, oh, all the expansions will be on Game Pass and all that kind of thing.
Well, because I think this is it, because I think it was Beyond Light, and I think like one or two of the previous expansions were included. Yeah. So it looked like at the presentation, it's like, oh fuck, it's all of them. It's like, yeah, but not any of the next lot. I guess. So maybe this was always the plan. Who knows? But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I guess with the Bethesda stuff, I mean, that's just on there and it's never going to leave. But then we're still in this kind of middle ground where, like, Ghostwire Tokyo was.
Oh yeah.
We're still waiting for that, aren't we? Like, Deathloop's on game.
That will come. I mean, in the same with Deathloop, isn't it? It's the same thing where it was like they were signed to Sony before the deal was done, and then. But yeah, nothing going forward is going to be.
Yeah. Next question comes from Clark3PO. He says, "Hey up, what do you think the next big gaming zeitgeisty thing is going to be? We haven't really had anything hype since Smash Brothers and the constant character reveals, and with the death of E3 and most companies going to direct, it feels like the end started with midnight launches in physical stores getting killed. Now it's all a bit dead on hype in general. Love the pod every week. Marvel Calls was chef's kiss, especially the ending episode with Harry. Really looking forward to James's Kickstarter plan too." I mean, I feel like these are zeitgeisty things for very different reasons. Like, I don't know if midnight launches was ever zeitgeisty, was it? I never did a midnight launch.
I did.
I went to a couple.
360. Yeah. I was terrified walking home.
Yes. Yeah, I don't remember. Did I? I'm not sure if I did one for a console or not. But even doing for games, I was like, scared of getting mugged on the way home.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I may have done the Dreamcast midnight launch. I can't remember, but yeah. I mean, I don't think that's zeitgeisty, but yeah, it's a shame. Well, no, is that thing not happening anymore? I mean, for consoles, there must still be midnight launches.
I don't know.
I don't believe
people just pre-order online, right?
Yeah.
I just don't think there's that many people pre-ordering in store anymore.
Well, now, I mean, instead of it being the midnight launch, it's the tracking the DPD delivery, isn't it? Like that's what everyone's doing nowadays.
That's
so,
true.
Like,
yeah, everyone's on Twitter being like, "Hey, look,
I got my tracking number. I got my tracking number. It's like it's not working. Oh, you have to. It's.
Wait, yeah. I guess the thing with that is like because there's far fewer game stores out there. Even like supermarkets aren't doing that stuff anymore, is it? So it's not like when I remember going to like Tesco, like 5 to 12, like wait, it's 12 o'clock. Okay, can I have that game? Like, here you go. Yeah, you can have it because it's midnight. The game's out. But now like Tesco recently have had massive sales, haven't they, on all their Switch stuff, and I think maybe other consoles as well. Like they're clearly just like getting rid of all their stock because they can't bother anymore. Like Direct Smiths, they just sell like the digital cards. Like supermarkets don't bother. I mean, we're never gonna have the days again, are we? Where we had like Modern Warfare 2 for like 26 quid, whatever it was. That was a revelation.
How is games still going? Because I feel like every time there's a new generation, they get a shot in the arm and another 2-3 years great, and then they usually sort of fall into trouble again. But like COVID happened, so surely everyone's even further off like bricks and mortar game stores than ever before.
I think they're now inside parts of Sports Directs, aren't they?
Yes, they are, which is still strange to me.
Yes,
very odd mix. I mean, I understand they're owned by the same person now, but yeah. I mean, it's no weirder than having Argos in Sainsbury's, I suppose. But I don't know. Yeah,
there's far fewer games. I mean, like the one in Leeds closed down, so I assume there's now a little one inside. Sports Direct. There's like Outtown Shopping Centre. That one's just completely gone. But I'm not surprised. I mean, I can't remember last time I bought ever something in a game anyway. So, it's sad, but it's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't say the thing I miss about game shops was being able to walk in and just be like, I just want to see something I don't like that I don't recognize. Do you know what I mean? Like like PS2 era especially, you could walk into a game shop and just like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is Mr. Mosquito?
That was what was so cool. Like how you could it was like going into like a record store. Like going through the covers and you're like, okay, I don't know what this is. I'm gonna give this a go or whatever. And that was I enjoyed that era a lot. It was really good because you sometimes picked up things you had no idea what this was gonna be. And
they were often cool. Shit, but you felt it was a fun act of discovery.
Yeah,
felt somewhat culturally enriched by it.
Well, the closest these days is going in CEX, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like,
but even then, it's just like,
what have they got in store? But
even then, it's like, there's 20 copies of FIFA, and there's nothing like, holy shit, I can't believe they've got this. And if they have, it's 200 quid because they know exactly what they're doing when it comes to rare stuff.
But we're also at a point, where we know we know far too much, because of the internet and podcasts and stuff. Like, you're not going to go in store and say, "Wow, what is this?" Like, the chances of that are so slim these days, because chances are you've heard about that game, or your mate's got it, or you got it, or
which is a good thing, right? Because because weird stuff is so much more accessible and so much more prominent now. I do think it is a positive, but yeah, I miss being able to walk into a shop and just thinking, like, I wonder what I'll see.
Yeah, I might have a conversation with the man behind the counter at Game Station.
Yeah, because he'll be a gaming enthusiast like me.
I know game. We both know games. The same. I might know more than you. Who knows? That's fun. But in terms of predicting zeitgeist, I mean, I don't think that's not zeitgeist. That's just the way of the world. It is definitely a shame with E3 going and companies just doing digital directs. Like, the days of funny goofs on stage are
that's what I miss the most. Yeah.
Because you can't imagine any of these companies being like, let's do it like we did in the old days. Everyone loved that because they did. But it's no one's gonna want to take the risk now that everyone's learned how to do it 100% controlled, slick, no screw ups or anything.
I mean, in terms of predicting what's the next zeitgeist going to be, no idea. I mean, whatever Michael Pachter said, and just opposite, really, of whatever that is.
It's one of those, isn't it? If we could answer this question, we would not be sitting here doing this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shit. Conky Donker says you've ordered the perfect fry up. What's on the plate?
Chips.
Man.
Chips.
This is breakfast, isn't it?
Just chips.
I basically whenever I order a fry up, I'm just like, whatever it is on the menu, but no mushrooms, thank you. That's my.
I like the mushrooms. I'll go for the mushrooms.
No, I'm not a fan of mushrooms. I mean, if it's a hotel buffet scenario, and no one's watching how many slices of fried bread I'm taking, then it's infinite fried bread.
I basically have everything apart from, say, black pudding. If that's it. I think I've tried it once. Wasn't a fan. Don't need to try it again.
I can do black pudding like on a fork with something else. I can't just eat black pudding on its own.
I've eaten it and it's just like, it's all right, but I could do without it. It's not an essential. Yeah.
That's quite an easy one. That.
Yeah, I mean, basically hash browns, all the usual bits.
Yeah. Yep. Sausages, bacon.
Two of everything.
Beans. Got to get your veg in.
Yeah.
It's got bit of fibre.
I can take or leave. I mean, I have them. I'm sure they'll be there, but I wouldn't they wouldn't be the first thing on the plate.
Yeah.
I still remember.
I mean, you got to have a nice bit of untoasted bread as well to wipe up at the end.
Just a little mop.
Yeah.
Still remember.
Sorry, Sean.
I was going to say, when I was little, I remember my dad. I can't remember what we were having, but basically dinner consisted of. There was chips on the plate and there was baked beans. I remember asking for ketchup, and my dad trying to explain to me that technically baked beans are in tomato sauce. Which, in a sense, yes, but also no, it's not the same thing. It's clearly not the same thing. The two are not interchangeable.
Yeah.
And just still annoys me apparently.
I mean, if this is the perfect fry up, then I'm sorry, but I've got to have 3 different types of eggs. Got to have fried, got to have scrambled, got to have poached.
I'm scrambled all the way.
100%. If it's a perfect one, I'll have all 3 types. Thank you. I have the bacon with no fat. What was it? Are they medallions?
Yeah, you can go. Yeah.
Bacon medallions, no fat. Obviously, hash browns.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess fried tomatoes. Yeah, definitely fried bread as well as toast.
Yeah.
I see. I could do without the fried tomatoes. I go for I go for the mushrooms, but not the tomatoes. Yeah.
Bit of sweetness, sort of.
Yeah.
Right. Next one comes from Capone Adam. This is very long. I haven't read it, so this could go anywhere. It says there was a brief mention on video game courses on your last episode. I was on one for 3 years back in 2002. I probably mentioned all this before. If so, just ignore this message. Actually, no, keep it in because you keep saying you have loads of new listeners, so this will be new to them.
We keep saying like we're lying.
Got loads of new listeners.
Prove it.
The old ones can fuck off.
Have you? Named them.
Yeah. For some reason, we did absolutely everything on this course. There were a few modules that made sense, such as 3D art, texturing and animation, etc., but there were mostly lots of other really redundant modules lumped in, ranging from learning HTML to designing video game box covers. I don't know why, but I had to endure a video game design module ran by a bloke whose nickname was Mofo, who only ever wore shorts. He would give us tips. He would give us tips on making games more fun. The only tip I remember is if one of your levels is long and dull, try adding a mid-level boss.
It's a classic.
Do not fix the dull level. No, don't make it better. Just add a boss.
What you really need in this dull, overly long level is a roadblock in the middle.
Yeah.
That's what you really... Yeah. It says we eventually had to take part in a fully serious exam in a hall about the history of video games, where we had questions with 4 possible answers.
Oh man, I'd love that.
I only remember 2 of these questions. One where you had to identify Sonic the Hedgehog from an image of Sonic the Hedgehog. And another question asked which camera perspective was used for the Grand Theft Auto series.
Goodness.
The answers included both third-person and top-down views. Many presumed it was a trick question, as it didn't specifically say GTA 3 or Vice City, but just Grand Theft Auto. This was giving them far too much credit. The answer was indeed a third-person perspective camera. They clearly were not aware that the original GTA series was a top-down game. The following day, they eventually notified all students that they will also accept the top-down answer, after many were clearly confused and concerned about this particular question. Back in the early 2000s, video game courses were really strange. However, my most vivid memory of the entire course was when I had an assignment to texture a zombie character. I purchased a full-range chicken from a Tesco Express and left it outside in the backyard of my shared student house in Middlesbrough for 3 weeks. Thankfully, I took photos throughout the process, as there was so much rain during that time. By week 2, it was less a chicken and more a heavily maggot-infested slushy soup situation. I never really managed to fully hide the evidence and soon had a rodent infestation. Somehow got top marks for that, complimenting me on my creative solution. That wasn't a question.
It wasn't,
No,
but it was quality.
Good. I really glad we read it out.
Feedback.
Yeah.
I should have put that feedback, but
Don't
whatever
matter.
it is, well worth it. That's amazing. And what's funny is that Adam was probably in Middlesbrough at the same time I was there, also doing it. I was doing a games programming course that
Oh, nice.
I barely did anything for, but I think Adam did design. But yeah, we were there at the same time.
Blimey.
Absolutely mad.
Andy says, question, if a new 3DS iteration of the Switch was released, would you pick it up on day one or wait to see how it's supported by Nintendo?
Well, of course I would. I'd probably buy 4 of them as well.
So the new 3DS, was that the one with that had is it?
It had a slightly better CPU.
Yeah, it was technically slightly. It was a bit more powerful. The main advantage of it was that
it had the nub.
Oh, it had the knob. Yes, it didn't need the whatever it was, the fucking circle.
The Circle Pad Pro.
Yeah. And it's the 3D tracked your eye movement, so that it didn't, because the original 3DS you had to hold it straight the entire time.
And it was actually pretty good.
It was really good.
The 3D was actually excellent on it. It was it was a big improvement.
Mm-hmm. And then there were a few. I think there was a few games that had like marginal technical improvements. I think Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate had like better textures and frame rate and stuff. But then there was like a couple of games that just ran on the new one. But it literally was a couple, wasn't it? There was Xenoblade,
it was very few. Yeah,
Xenoblade Chronicles, and I mean that's the only one I can think of.
I think Hyrule Warriors was one of them actually.
Yes, it was, and it ran like shit.
It was awful because I reviewed it. I reviewed it for Spong back in the day. Yeah, and it's it was not very good.
Yeah. Ben in the chat's pointing out you could change the plates on it. I had a really nice Monster Hunter one on mine.
Yeah.
Face plates, amazing.
That's the thing they need to bring back.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do. It's good.
No.
It's kind of mad that they release a new version of the console and then just have a small handful of games that actually took advantage of the hardware.
Yeah, I mean, it had other improvements anyway, so I don't think anyone was like furious. But yeah, it was a very strange move. That I can't see them. They wouldn't do the same with the Switch. I mean, they've already obviously the OLED exists, and it's not quite the same, but there's nothing that's OLED exclusive.
No, but yeah, I just remember there was Minecraft came out on that on the 3DS, on the new 3DS only, and because I remember because Asher had it, and he tried it and he was like, "This is rubbish," because the draw distance was like,
I could imagine.
It was still terrible. Yeah,
it's pretty bad on Switch now. Like you turn around playing Minecraft and you got to wait for the whole thing to load. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So the Circle Pad Pro, was that the thing you had to play like Kid Icarus in like a
yes,
but it was on a stand in order to play it?
No, that was different. This was basically the Circle Pad Pro was literally just your second analog stick because the original 3DS didn't it just had the one.
Because it was for Monster Hunter, wasn't it? That people bought it because it was so that then you could have like dual stick controls.
But then then the new 3DS had that that little knob. That was actually all right. It wasn't brilliant. It was only good for camera control.
Better or worse than the Vita one?
Worse.
No, the Vita one was way better.
Yeah, Vita one was all right.
Yeah,
in comparison. Yeah. So I don't think any of us would buy a new Switch, apart from James, who would buy loads.
I realise this next one is also feedback, but
it's fine. It doesn't matter.
These sessions came late.
Whatever. It's all right. Rocketman76 says, just a quick note. So I really enjoyed the PSVR 2 chat on the show last week. I have to agree that Gran Turismo 7 in VR is epic. It is now my preferred way to play the game. It is the perfect balance between ease of use and technical quality. A small track like Goodwood and with everyone racing in karts is really, really good fun and would make a good stream. If you guys are able and willing to set up a few online racing lobbies, perhaps with participation from the lovely and wonderful TCGS community, I'm sure many people would be interested. Patreon producers should get a 10-15 second head start, of course. That would be very funny. I'd watch kart races in VR. I'd be up for that. James is staying quiet because he doesn't want to do it.
No, I'd do that. I think it would be quite good.
Yeah, we should absolutely say that. I mean, if I don't have the headset, I will just play flat screen. I will be well up for that.
Mm-hmm.
We should totally try and set something up.
Yep. This next one isn't a question either, Matt.
No,
but I'm going to read it out anyway. It comes from Alex.
Read it out.
Says, hello TCGS crew, first time writing in, but I've been following you guys since the Joypod days. You may remember me as the guy who bought Dave a mother care voucher. Fox, a lovely... Oh yeah, Michael. Sorry, I was like, who's Fox? Sorry, Michael, if you're still listening.
Wow.
Fox, a lovely Dark Souls illustrated guide, and Sean, a bottle of honey Jack Daniels. Great present for a teetotaler. That nearly got Andy kicked out of the pub we were in, I think. Anyway. It says, anyway, I recently had an email from the partner of YouTube content creator Thick44, aka Tony Schnurr, who made content for the Neebs gaming channel, mostly popular for its Battlefield Friends series that started around the Battlefield 3 days. Sadly, Tony lost his life to cancer in February this year after putting up a brave fight and undergoing an incredibly expensive experimental treatment. I wanted to make a mention of him as I and others hugely enjoyed the content that he and the team made over the years and express my gratitude for all the joy he brought us through the comedic content on Neebs Gaming. Rest in peace, Tony, and fuck cancer. Indeed.
Fuck cancer, indeed, yeah.
Yeah, man. That's really shit. Yeah. Huge
shit. About Tony and his friends and family. I mean, I remember that series, Battlefield Friends.
I don't think I'm familiar.
Yeah, I mean, around the Battlefield 3 days were so bloody good. Will it ever be that good again?
I mean, clearly not.
No.
It's not happening, is it?
Clearly not.
But
thanks for the email, Alex. Yeah, this boy should be but whatever,
That's fine. Doesn't
matter.
That's
if you add 3 right at the end, all goes out the window.
It's a 3-man show. It's chaos incarnate. It's fine.
It really is.
Fuck the format. It doesn't matter. Right, that's it. Do you want to do socials, Matt?
Absolutely. Well, Thursday from 9, Sean is streaming epically violent Blade and Sorcery again. If you missed last week's stream, it's on our YouTube channel. Just search for TCGS. But yeah, Blade and Sorcery in VR. That's Thursday night for 9 p.m. No James stream this Friday. James is busy with life. So just the Thursday stream. Thursday for 9. If you miss it live, as I said, search for TCGS on YouTube and you'll see the VOD up on there. If you have Amazon Prime and Twitch Prime, if you have a Twitch account and your Amazon Prime connection, we have something called Twitch Prime Gaming. You get 1 free sub a month. Go to our channel, give us a free sub. We really, really appreciate it. We're on Patreon. That's patreon.com/TCGS. We'll do a bonus show hopefully this week, so that'll be out if you're at the £4.50 and above tier. We've got plans for your consideration, which is the James Farley Kickstarter backing extraordinaire that's happening later this month as well for the tier above. Also, if you're the £8.50 tier, you also get to watch the bonus show on video as well after we have recorded that. So they're both Patreon things, and patreon.com/TCGS is the link there. And the website is tcgs.co for links to our gorgeous Discord, our socials, pods, store, you name it. It's all up on there.
Cool. Catch you all next week or sooner if you're a patron, which you should be. It's a very cool thing to do. All your friends will think you're brilliant, and your mum.
Cool.
Tell your mum if you're she'll love it. It's Mother's Day. Buy your mother a subscription. Yeah.
When's that?
Sunday.
On Sunday.
Yeah. Buy your mum a year's subscription.
Why are you so going about that, James? Yeah, you need to send a card now, though, James, if you want it. If you want
exactly.
To arrive on time.
Yeah.
James, just fuck that up. Thanks for letting us be natural. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.